base the forecasting feature again, because I just noticed in the questions tab that we got some questions that they prefer to have a look at the forecasting feature again. And also that's commonly, we got many questions out of it. So probably let me quickly touch base the forecasting feature again in detail. All right, probably I'm just going to quickly touch base that. So if you have any questions, please do post your questions, and again, we are happy to help you with the questions that you have in specific. All right. So forecasting feature, to create a forecasting feature, or maybe to enable the forecasting feature for a chart, all you need to do is build a chart that should have date in x-axis, meaning you should involve the date in your chart, date field. You cannot go ahead and do a forecasting for the salesperson wise sales. Okay, so you can do a forecasting based on the trend. So something like what was the monthly sales, yearly sales, or something. Okay, so all you need to do is just go ahead and create a chart. So something like this. Drag and drop the fields into the appropriate shelf. So now I have the x-axis that shows the monthly, the month information, and the y-axis that has the amount, which is the sales. All right. Now, you just need to take a note that the forecasting can be predicted only if you have more than 5 data points. A data point is nothing but, let's say if it is April 2020, you have sales of $2 million, right? Now this is one data point. So similarly, let me change the chart type. Let's go to the bar chart. Now similarly, you have a March month and you have a sales. So this is another data point. So similarly, any plotting that happens is a data point in a chart, right? Now you should have at least 5 data points to create a forecast. So to enable the forecasting feature, all you need to do is click on the settings after creating a chart with date field and then some aggregate or measures field. Go to the forecast option and click on add forecast. So when you click on add forecast, you'll be able to see the field which you have used in the y-axis. So choose that, and by default, it will provide you some option like 5 months or 6 months, because we choose the monthly sales. So it provides how long you want to make a prediction, 5 months or 6 months or 3 months or whatever. So you can choose it based on your requirement. And ignore last value. So let me tell you why you want to use this. Let's say you're in the middle of a month. For example, if you see a sales trend, you want to make a prediction only based on the completed month, not on a running month, right? Let's say currently you're in April 15th. You don't want to go ahead and include the April month sales in the forecasting because we are just in the half of the month, right? So ignore the last value or add the last value is something that you can go ahead and pick or choose it, okay? And coming to the next, these are all the specific customizations that what you're looking for. So something like, let's say it could be like the heading, the legend heading, or changing the colors and so on. Confidence percentage is not available because I have chosen the bar chart. I'll change the chart type and I'll explain that. But now we are all set to apply the forecasting. So just adding the forecasting and click on apply. I have the forecasting for the next 6 months. All right. Now I'm just changing the to a line chart so that I can use the confidence percentage also. So let me explain what is confidence percentage. To explain that, I'm just reducing the data points because we have too many data points. I want a better visualization to explain the confidence percentage. So I'm going to filter out only the last 8 months sales. This is just to explain you. Even we can enable the confidence percentage with any given data points, but just to explain you better, I'm just filtering out the last 8 months because we have less data points to understand this chart better, right? Now I go ahead and click on the settings and I'm choosing the forecast and I choose the confidence percentage as, let's say how confident you want to make a prediction. So let's say I just choose it as a 90% confidence and I click on apply. Now, let me tell you what is the confidence percentage. Now, you see this line exists in the middle, right? So this is the forecast prediction that happens. That's the trend of the forecasting, right? Now, this is the expected forecasting value or forecasted value basically. Now, what would be the possible range this values could differ? Okay, we cannot expect that the 3.3 million or 3.6 million to be sales in September 2020. Okay, the range based on the confidence percentage that you said, the sale, it shows that the sale may go up to a range, okay, above that or a range below that. So it's kind of like a possible chances that your prediction can go up or down. All right, so that's the confidence percentage. Okay, so you can choose the different range of confidence percentage. If you're not I mean, like if you just choose the confidence percentage as 70%, then you'll have the less possibility of prediction. 90% will include a more possibility of prediction. But I just want to let you know that like it is something that this forecasting, you mainly you need to concentrate on the actual forecasting value, and also this prediction is by understanding the complete data pattern, the linear data expression or the data pattern that's happening for the previous data points. Okay, so based on the previous data points, it uses the algorithm to make a prediction on the upcoming data points. All right, so that's how it works. So currently, this forecasting feature is limited. The reason I'm saying this as a limited is this is the first level, or I could say the first version of the forecasting feature, because it makes a simple prediction based on two conditions. One is you have a timeline, you have date field in the x-axis, you have some values in the y-axis. Now you have to go ahead and make a prediction only based on the two possible combinations. You cannot include another parameter to make a prediction here. That's something we have it in our to-do list. Let's say I want to make this prediction based on the marketing spend I have increased. Okay, so some kind of another parameter or external factor that you want to involve in this prediction, that's something that we have it in our to-do list. So this is how this current forecasting model works. All right, so some of you, I just noticed some comments in the chat that I have already covered the forecasting feature. Just want to repeat you that I'm just saying this or covering this topic again because we got some questions in the forecasting and also some demand that they prefer to see this again. So that's the reason I'm just explaining the forecasting feature. All right, so if you have any specific question towards the forecasting, please do post it in the question tab at the left and our team are happy to help you with it. All right, okay, so with the forecasting feature, I'm just moving to the next topic, which is Ask Zia. So one of the exciting feature that we have it across the Zoho. So anything that works using the AI or ML or NLP, or in general, in a very high level, it's AI technology, right? So anything that works or depend on AI technology, we name it as Zia in Zoho, right? So in Zoho Analytics, we have this feature called Ask Zia. Okay, it's an AI assistant. It's basically an AI assistant which will help you to create some reports. So basically, so far the report creation was a drag and drop interface. You need to go ahead and choose the field, choose the function, and build the report. But as Zia make the process very simple and I mean, it's very easy. It's more often a self-service mode. Okay, take an organization, typically you will have one or two admins, or I could say the developers who go ahead and create the reports. Okay, and then they provide access to different users in the organization with different level of permissions. What if you enable the ASZIA and provide this access to the executives or any end consumers, where they can do their analysis? I mean, they can create the report on their own rather than understanding the data model or understanding the concept of like data type, column name, data model, or relationship between the tables, and then functions that they need to apply and everything. What if simply they ask the questions like searching something in Google, and they are able to get the report, right? So that's the feature. That's the feature called ASIA. So you type what you want and the report will be built automatically. So it's very important. You need to understand how ASIA works. Okay, as a partner, not this is not for the customers basically. As a partners, you need to understand why or how exactly this ASIA feature works, because at times you may need to train the ASIA for the specific data set that you handle for a customer, right? So let me explain how exactly it works. First, let me show you how ASIA works. So I just type what I want. Show me the sales in 2020. Okay, so I type, show me the sales in 2020, and the report builds automatically, right? Or it shows the KPI indicator automatically. Now, by months, so I just type it as show me the sales in 2020 by month, because we have 4 months in 2020. So we have the monthly chart. Okay, now you see that how simple it is. I just type what I want in very simple English, and the system is able to understand my requirement and able to build a report on top of it and provide me what I'm looking for, right? So this is a super cool feature, of course. But as a partners, you need to understand how exactly the ASIA works, and also how you need to tweak or train the ASIA based on the data set used by the customers. All right. So this is how ASIA works. I just type what I want and the report built automatically. I can keep on increasing the layers in this ASIA. So I just ask the first layer as show me the sales in 2020, which I got it as a KPI indicator. Okay. Then I add a layer called by month. Then obviously it automatically understand that I'm looking for a monthly chart. Okay, monthly sales. Now what I'm looking for, by the same example I'm going to use. The reason I'm sticking with the same example again and again is to easily understand the concept and use it across all the places. So I'm going to use the same example, that by lead source, what was my sales? So the report I have built in the user interface with drag and drop feature. Now I just by doing what I want in a simple English, right? Now this report is obviously not readable. You have, I mean, it's kind of like a complex. So let us as a, let's go as bar chart. Okay, so I just type it as bar chart, and the report automatically changed it as a bar chart. Even I just type it as a bar, and I get it as a bar, right? So how cool it is, how simple it is. Okay, now I just want to mention this point again and again, because I understand this feature has been there for more than an year of a time. But one thing I just want to let you know that is, this is something we started. I mean, our team started before 5 years of time. Okay, we have a dedicated small team who work behind the scenes to bring this wonderful feature. And it was a 5+ years of effort to bring this feature in the product. Okay, and I'm pretty sure most of you well aware of the competitor Tableau. Okay, so Tableau is, I guess, right now they should be more than 5,000 employees, but before they were around like 4,500 employees while we launched this feature. So Zoho Analytics is a team with 100+ members, or I could say 120 members, whereas the Tableau is 4,800+ employees company, and they launched this feature after we released it. All right, so that's something that very one of the point I used to mention in most of the sessions or presentations whenever I'm talking about the ASIA feature, right? So that's the, so look at the vision of Zoho Analytics. Like, we are able to cope up, and we are able to cope up in the BA market to provide this. So this is one of the game-changing feature we have it in the product, right? Okay, now now you see that how exactly I just built this report just by asking what I want. Okay, now the same report, but let's say I just want to a certain extent, this feature would be able to understand what I'm looking for. Okay, some filters and all those stuff, it will be able to understand. But I just want to let you know some of the I mean, now you could see a small misunderstanding. It's trying to find the contact as partner, but I was trying to include the lead source as partner. Okay, but okay, let me explain you how exactly this feature works, so that you can understand and see how we can make this feature works basically. Okay, now you could notice an underline behind each, I mean, on each and every, or I could say not in each and every, but certainly in certain or specific words in this query I'm trying to use. Okay, probably let's ignore this. Let's just show that. So when you see this in each and every columns, okay, the associated columns basically in my base table, it was able to recognize. Okay, now do you think I have a column called sales in my deals table, or maybe in leads table, or anywhere in my system? I don't have anything called sales in my deal table, right? So you see the summary at the right, chart information, how exactly this report was built. It uses the closing date, it uses the lead source, and also it uses the one amount basically. So one amount is the sales field. Okay, but when I type it as sales, the system is able to understand that I'm looking for the one amount and it giving me the result. So let me tell you how this works. Okay, now we cannot expect all the tables or all the data that you're trying to fetch into a system have a proper column header. Okay, so for most of the business integrations, let's say you're using the Zoho CRM or a Salesforce, or it could be any business apps integration, the data model and the column names, in most of the cases, it would be the defined data model, or it could be the defined column names. Okay, it's typically used, and I could say the most of the fields like stages is one of the most commonly used field in any given business for a deals module or a leads module, right? So similarly, if you're using the let's say you have the tickets in help desk module, you know, the tickets or request ID or ticket ID is something widely used in all the help desk domain, right? So what we do for all the business apps integration, we train the system before delivering this integration feature to you. Okay, for example, in Zoho CRM, if you go ahead and type, show me the list of deals. Now I see the list of deals which are nothing but the potential name, right? So instead of when I ask show me the potentials, list of potentials, it understands I'm looking for the potentials and it's able to show the list of potentials again. Similarly, I just asked show me the list of opportunity. So in some business, somebody may call it as deals, some of them may call it as opportunities, and somebody may call it as a potentials, right? So whatever I type, the system is able to understand what I'm looking for, and it provides me the appropriate list or the result, right? Now let me tell you how this works. For all the business apps integration, we have this ZIA trained. So when I'm talking about the ZIA training, basically I'm talking about setting the synonyms for each and every column header and setting up the priority for each and every column and setting up the function which I prefer to use. Okay, for example, you have a field called amount or a one amount or something. Now this amount, I can call it as revenue, or somebody may call it as sales, somebody may call it as opportunity or opportunity size or revenue size or deal size, income, whatever the term that typically used. So for all the business apps integrations, all these data model are pretty much familiar for everyone. So the possible combination words, we are able to provide it on our own. Okay, the system itself is trained for that. So when you type sales, it automatically understands that you're looking for the sales, and it takes, so you can set the priority appropriately because you have similar field, two column names exist. For example, let's say you have the amount and you have the amount one or something. you prefer to provide high priority to amount 1. So you can set the priority for the column. Okay, and also whenever you are choosing the function or when you're using the field called amount, you prefer to see or set a function called count or sum or minimum or maximum or whatever. Okay, now you can set up these 3 settings in Zia for each and every field and also for a table. So you can have multiple synonyms or multiple meaning for a column, which you may typically use in a Zia. And also, you can set it up the table name. You can have additional table names here. You can set the priority for the table. So by understanding the entire data model that exists in the workspace, you can set up the priority. You can change the synonyms for each and every column name or each and every table name and so on. And based on that settings, Zia will work automatically. So remember, for all the business apps integration that we offer, so all the business applications integrations that we offer, we have this system trained. So it automatically works whenever you go ahead and configure the integration setup. Okay, so that shouldn't be a problem. But when you're dealing with a customer who are trying to import the data from your local database, or maybe they are trying to import data from their cloud database, and they're not dealing the data from a business applications, we do have a lot of customers who are using data from supply chain domain, healthcare domain, or it could be the government data, or it could be network domain, anything. Okay, as a matter of fact, it could be any domain. So you should be able to train the Zia appropriately. So you can just understand what are the frequently asked, the frequently used words, or ask questions appropriately. Based on that, you can set the priority, use those words in the Zia settings and everything, where the end users can just, just set it up the Zia and provide only Zia access to some executives. So the executives can go ahead and just enable the Zia, type in what they want and get the result that what they are looking for. Okay, so I hope this was clear, that in terms of how to use the Zia and also how to configure or train a Zia. Now, if you think like it's pretty simple that Zia is using the column name to map the things and work, not just that, it's not just modifying or understanding the column name. It need to understand all the possible combinations and all other text that you use along with the queries. Okay, so it uses the technology called natural language processing. So using the natural language processing technique, it automatically understands your question, trying to correlate those questions with the column names that exist in your table. It understands the data model and try to deliver it. So behind the scenes, Zia will understand your entire data model, understand your priority, what are all the typical data points that you typically, the terms or the, I could say the data that exists, and it uses a lot of ML algorithms to group the values and everything and understand the priority to show the report appropriately. Okay, so it's an one exciting feature, but we are also coming up with a lot more enhancements on this. I'll try to explain everything in detail while I'm explaining the roadmap for 2020. Okay, one additional feature, this Zia voice will be available for Google Chrome. So this uses the voice API for Google Chrome. So if you use the Google Chrome, obviously you can use that. It should work. So probably let's try one question in Zia voice. Show me the sales in 2020. All right, so it works, right? So this is how you use Zia, all right? And also, please understand that as a partners, you should know how to train the Zia. Okay, so always to train a Zia, please use the settings option available here inside the Zia, or you can go ahead and open a table, right click on a column and choose Zia settings, or even you can click on more and click on Zia settings to use this field. All right. That's great. So thank you so much. I believe that makes the whole process easy. Thanks to the technology that you have, your day by day, you're seeing the things more easy. That let's take before 10 years or 15 years of time, you need a DB administrator to query something and get the result and get the report on top of it. So it's everything's moving towards the self-service and more augmented way. So I'll just touch base the augmented analytics features and other things that Zoho Analytics team focusing in 2020. All right. So I got some, I think we get a lot of questions. So I'll go to the dashboard and widgets. I'll just try to cover the dashboards and widgets part. And then I will come to the Q&A session. I believe our team is answering all your questions. And I get a lot of good chats also. All right, that's great. So I think we can continue the next topic, which could be the dashboards and widgets. All right. The ultimate purpose of creating the reports is to visualize your data, to see what's happening in your business, to analyze what, or maybe to understand what exactly that your business data is, right? But you prefer to put everything in one place because it is not recommended that, or it is not feasible that you need to go ahead and open each and every report like this and access and find out what's happening, all right? So that's the reason the dashboard comes up. So dashboard is a single component or a single page where you can put all those reports and dashboards in one place, okay? Now, to create a dashboard, it's pretty straightforward. You click on create, select dashboard. So all the reports that you have created will be available at the left. So please understand, you need to create the report first, and then you need to create a dashboard, okay? It's a two different components. Create all the required reports that you're looking for, and then go ahead and create the dashboards on top of that, okay? So all the report or all the reporting objects and tables available, everything will be listed at the left hand side. Now all I need to do is just drag and drop it, place it into the dashboard, and I can build the dashboard basically. So it's a pretty much straightforward process where I can just go ahead and customize this how I want to see, what are all the specific points I'm trying to see here, or the report I prefer to see here. I can just drag and drop it. Now you could notice that this is an M into N layer, meaning this can be customized in any given model. For example, let's say I just want to have this report. The M into N layout is nothing but it is pretty much flexible, where you can change the size of the report like anything that you prefer to see. All right. So even I prefer to have multiple layouts here at the top. If I want to see 3 different layouts at the top, I can just go ahead and customize it. So this is a flexible layout. So as long as however you, whatever the level of readability that you can have it in a report, you can build it in a dashboard. So something like this, right? So I'm just trying to explain the point that it is absolutely flexible, where you can go ahead and make all the changes, or maybe you can design it as the way you want. So you can group select it, expand or change the location of all these 3 reports together and so on. So you can group it and you can build it as the way you want. So that's a flexible dashboard layer. So let me make it visible. I think it is not visible here. So let me make the reports readable first. All right, so this is how I build the dashboard in Zoho Analytics. And in the dashboard, by default, by default, you have the option to add the user filters in the dashboard level, okay? So instead of filtering out for each and every report, you can set a dashboard in user filters in a dashboard level. So basically you can drag and drop something, and when you go to the view mode in the dashboard, you'll be able to see that filtering component, which can be applied across all the places in your dashboard. Okay, so that could be one single user filters, or it could be multiple user filters. So in a dashboard level, you can click on add user filters, and you can choose the fields that you prefer to apply in a whole dashboard level. All right. Now, one important feature in the filtering, I mean, in terms of user filters, not just a single field. Here you have the option to merge multiple fields. For example, currently I have taken the account name from Zoho CRM, right? So similarly, I have something called account name in Zoho Desk. I have another field, and also I have account name from Zoho Books. Okay, let's say it could be the I don't think I have data of Zoho Book, but let's go with this example. You have two different account name from Zoho CRM and account name from Zoho Desk. Now, while I'm filtering, I don't want to go ahead and filter both these fields separately. For example, when I go to the view mode, let's say there are possible combinations that you may have same accounts in both the places. And also while you build the report, you have a relationship between both the underlying tables behind that. So what you can do, you can drag and drop it and put or merge two different filters. So you could see that two filters has been merged here. Okay, and if you click this, or when you go to the edit design of this filter, you will be able to edit the column mapping. So which column is mapped from Zoho CRM into this account filter, and which column is mapped from the Zoho Desk in this filter, right? So this could be like in the account field level, it could be like, let's say you have the country from two different fields, or maybe any field. Basically, you have a common values between two different tables, and you have a proper lookup relationship, and all the reports that you built on top of those tables, or like have relationship between these user filters. Then you can use this, and also you can drag and drop or merge two filters together to build the reports. All right. So those are all the user filters. So to create a dashboard, you drag and drop the reports, set the flexibility, or arrange the dashboards as the way you prefer to see, add the filters that what you're looking for. And of course, at the top, you have some simple options like adding the image or adding some headers, and also adding some title or inserting some HTML content and so on, right? So you can have a title something like executive dashboard or something. And set it up and heading based on my requirement. I can just change all those filters and so on, the colors and so on, and I can have a heading on top of it. Okay. Similarly, I can insert an image here that shows me the dashboard type and so on. Explain some kind of like have your branding on your own, or maybe specifically, you're specifying some specific or kind of like a let's say it's kind of like representation of some topics or a country flag or anything. So based on your requirement, you can insert any images and add some appropriate title to ensure that the dashboard is always you have a complete or a overview of what exactly that happens in your business, or maybe the general insights that whatever you're trying to deliver. Okay, so that's how the dashboard builder is. Now, very important feature in a dashboard level is widgets. Okay, widgets are another type of visualization. Typically, you will not create it as a separate component. In most of the cases, you create the widgets as a part of a dashboards. Okay, so that's the reason in the dashboard we have included the feature called widget, which is nothing but some simple reporting components, basically, which will help you to keep track or keep tab on what's happening in your business. So it could be a KPI indicator, it could be a dial chart that shows whether the target has been achieved or not, or it could be a bullet chart that shows the target has been achieved or not, and so on. So if you take the widget, if you click on add widget, you'll be able to find just 9 layout. So each and every tile you see here or boxes you see here are different layouts basically. Okay. Now this 9 layouts, or I could say we can categorize into 3 baskets or 3 layouts basically. Okay. So first 3, the first line, which will be more focused on values, only values. So it could be like the first grid will show only the primary value. Let me zoom in and show you that better. Okay. Now the first tab, first tile will show you only the primary value. The second tab will show you the primary value and the secondary value. Third tab will show you the primary, secondary, and third value also. Now the second set of layout, once again the same, primary value, secondary value, or primary and secondary, and primary, secondary, and third value, 3 different layouts. But the difference is, here you can have a KPI indicator that shows whether the trend is up or down. So to use these 3 widgets, always it should be associated with a date column. All right. And then the third one would be pretty much straightforward. You have 3 different types of widgets, or I could say the chart kind of a widget. But the difference is it's more often used for whether the target has been achieved or how far we are away from the target, or whatever the maximum amount that we can spend and versus the actual spend. But basically it's a budget versus actual spend and so on. Okay. So 3 layout. So based on your requirement, whether you want to see only the primary information or primary and secondary, or primary, secondary, and third information, all the same, but along with some KPI indicators that shows whether the trend is up or down, and then the target versus actuals. Okay. Now coming to this, let me choose this layout. So before creating a widget, first you need to go ahead and choose the layout that what you're looking for. Okay. So in this case, let me choose this first widget, first type. I just want to see the total sales. So I go ahead and use this field. All I need to do is I need to go ahead and pick the specific field. So here I have the sales information in the amount shelf, right? So here, yeah. So we have the amount. And I can choose whether I want to choose the functions or the functions, different functions I prefer to use. So I choose the sum of sales. Do I need to group it based on something? I can choose it. So I want to see the yearly total sales or something. I can go ahead and group it here. Okay. So it will be the yearly sales. Now, this primary value here, do I want to sum this value, or do I want to take the maximum of this value, and so on? So I have the privilege of applying a function on top of the primary value I prefer to see. Okay. Now I click on apply. I have a widget that shows the total sales that happen. Now let me go ahead and use the second field. So instead of this, I will go ahead and use the KPI indicator that compares this year versus last year. Okay. So the primary value is supposed to be the latest. Secondary value is supposed to be the previous. Okay. And I click on apply. It shows the sales between this year and last year. Now, let me touch base some more points again, because that's some of the typical or frequently asked question that comes up. Okay. If you're trying to build this kind of visualization, or maybe this particular pivot view, this particular widget type, okay, with the primary value basically, then a frequently asked questions would be why I need to apply a function here, and also why I need to apply a function here. Okay. If you're going to choose both the functions are same, obviously the value would be straightforward. It's going to sum up the values, right? But the reason for providing the primary value is, now you see that we are using the group by function, right? So since we are using the group by, which is nothing but we are grouping the sales based on the yearly closure date. Instead of sum, I can choose something called latest. So that shows only the 2020 sales. So it is not necessary that always supposed to be the sum. This primary value option available here will help me to determine what I prefer to see as a primary value. Here you're applying a function to determine what function that you want to apply on top of your data. Okay, so you have privilege to use it in both level, but mostly in this case, let's say I want to see only the latest value, I can use this, or I want to see the previous value, I can apply it and I see the 2019 filter and so on. So the typical use case would be, in most of the case, you'll not be using these filters, you'll be using the KPI indicators that shows whether the trend is up or down. Okay, that too, you'll be using this center widget in most of the cases that shows whether the trend is up or down compared to the previous value. Okay, so in this case, I just go ahead and choose this, and of course the primary value is previous. I mean, the primary value is latest, the secondary value is previous, and I click on apply. That shows me the this year versus last year comparison, and that shows the trend is down because due to the deal sizes. I mean, the total overall sales is higher in 2019. Now let's make it as monthly instead of yearly, so that makes more sense. Now I click on apply. That shows the this month versus last month comparison, and it's good that we already crossed the last month sales by mid of April. Okay. Now I have the option to apply some format or condition. I mean, like, of course, the way I prefer to see this. So I can go ahead and see whether I want to see it in a million buys or on thousands or whatever. I can set it up. So these are all the formatting features that we have seen in the chart. So similarly, you have the option to do it here in the widget also. Okay, and also at the bottom you have something called comparison indicator. So this comparison indicator, this one, do I want to always compare it with last versus previous, or do I need to compare with the total value or some kind of like a constant value? I can set it up based on my requirement. So in this case, always I want to compare it with the previous value. All right. So by understanding your requirement, you can create this widget using this combination. Okay. So similarly, let's say I just want to create a filter that shows, I mean, the widget that shows whether the target has been achieved or not. So once again, I use this. I just group it based on, I mean, the month wise or something. So I want to see the latest value. Target could be, let's say I want to compare it with the previous value, whatever the target is. Or let's say I just want to always compare the target with the constant value. So the constant value, I expect $10 million sales or something. And I click on OK. So that shows how far we are moving towards the target. So whatever the maximum range I can set. So all those fields can be calculated. So that's based on the percentage and so on. Okay. So this is how you create a widget. So based on your requirement, you choose the type of widget and you build it. Okay. And typically you'll be using the center widget in most of the cases, as far as I've noticed a lot of customer support and so on. This is the widely used widget type. Okay. Now, of course, as like chart, you have the option to apply the filters here, include item, exclude item, and so on. Now, a couple of information in the filter level, I mean, the settings level in the widgets, because when you create a widget like this, obviously, you prefer to apply some conditions, or maybe like you want to make some formatting on top of it. So in the settings, it is pretty much, I mean, like extensive. You can change the background color of these filters and so on, and also apply some custom filters, changing the alignments and other stuff. Most of them are self-explanatory, but of course you can change the color, the font size and alignment, or maybe the font color and everything for each and every value that you see here. Even you have the option to set what icon that you prefer to see, whether you want to see a trend that goes up or down, or you want to see some circle with some color combinations of, like, let's say it's denote the green, which is up, or red that goes down, and so on. So you have the option to make some customization in terms of the look and feel here. Okay, so that's the widgets. So this is how you create a widget. So you apply some conditions, you apply some filters on top of it, and you extensively create a widget based on your requirement. Now, in this widgets, of course, you have the option to, I mean, not in the widgets. I'm just trying to explain that the level of customization you can do in the chart. Okay, I mean in the dashboard. Let me quickly go ahead and show you what are all the look and feel customizations that you can go do it in a dashboard level. Okay, so we created the charts, we insert the widgets, we just have all the reports in place and everything. Now, when you go to the themes, you have the option to completely change the look and feel of the dashboards. Okay, you can go for the dark theme. I mean, some of the preset themes are available here at the top. So based on that, the entire dashboard color will be changed. Now, of course, not just using the preset colors, you can customize it, change each and every component of a dashboard, the entire background of the dashboard or the card. A card is nothing but if you have a report in a dashboard that's, I mean, one tile is a one card. Basically, you can change the color of the background, I mean, the background color of the card, and also the border color, the title color and font, the card style, and whether you want to use any palette that you have it in a workspace level, chart palette. I'll show the settings later. So you can completely customize the look and feel, the style of the dashboards as the way you want. And you can also choose the you're looking for in the dashboard. Let's say, I mean, the layouts basically. So one layout is, let's say, I can choose this layout that shows the heading with the background color, or I can choose this layout which has a simple line at the top of each and every view, right? So you can go ahead and make all these changes based on your requirements. So this is how you build a dashboard, make customizations in the look and feel, add widgets, combine or use the appropriate user filters, and so on. And another important feature in a widget level is, I mean, in the dashboard level is settings in the dashboards. Basically, you have the option to make or enable a report to act as a filter. Okay, some of the contextual settings would be available, but one important feature I want to highlight here is enable report as a filter. So which is nothing but when you see this report, I want to filter out a value here. For example, let's say I just want to filter out this city as New York. I click on include this value. As long as you have a relationship between the data set, automatically you see that I just filter only the New York. Based on that, it shows the sales trend in New York. So sorry, we have very less data, but of course, hope you understand the concept that I'm filtering a specific data point that applied across all the reports I have, right? So to do that, all you need to do is click on the settings and click on enable report to act as a filter. So this is what we call it as a dashboard level filter, or maybe the interactive reporting filter. Now you have a lot of interactive options in the reporting component. You place a mouse pointer, you get a box, you get some set of information. It's called the tooltip. You click on a data point, you can view the underlying data behind it, which is analyzing the underlying data, whatever that's happening. And inside the underlying data, once again, you can go ahead and filter it out, or you can just include filters, export the report, and so on. Or even you have the option to click on this drill down statically based on a specific path, or drill down custom way in terms of finding out some other aspect or some other dimensions. Or even you have the option to apply this as a filter. Basically, you're just going to apply this entire or a specific data point as a filter across all the reports in the dashboard level interaction. Okay, so I hope a lot of interactions, and that's I'm pretty sure that's very important, because only then your end users or your customers will be able to analyze their data. They can see, they're just not seeing the reports what they are looking for. They can go ahead and analyze what's happening in their business, find out where they need to concentrate, find out where exactly the problem resides in a business is matters. Only then they can run a business, of course. So that's the reason you have a consolidated view. So any given business owner or any given manager or a team lead or even executives, or even it could be the agents or a salesperson or whoever, they should have a dashboard to measure their performance or measure their company performance or whatever, to understand what's happening in their work. Okay, it's as important as a cockpit view for a pilot. How exactly a pilot can sit in a cockpit view to fly, to run a flight, or maybe to fly. You have everything in your one place to control it. Similarly, a business owner, or it could be a manager, or it could be a team leader, or any level, you need a dashboard. And that's why nowadays you see in all the mobile applications, or even you see it in, let's say you use some mobile telecom providers like AT&T, or it could be the Airtel or Vodafone or whatever. If you use their app, inside that you see a dashboard to track your usage. Okay, if you use iPhone or if you use Android, that shows internally you see a dashboard that shows your usage and how to track it. Or even in this crisis situation during the corona, or maybe it could be the world in an unprecedented situation right now, but still we track everything using a dashboard. So it is very important when we have a lot of data collected in different granularity. It's very important to have one dashboard to show everything in a business. Okay, it's similarly, it could be in any aspect. All right. So this is how you build a dashboard. This is how you create the reports and dashboards. And finally, you can make it more customized or more better with the theme, the look and feel and everything. And I just want to quickly show you a couple of dashboards that we have as an example here. So this is an executive view. You see the executive view where we have all the revenue, expense, profit, all those information in one view. So typically, if you create a dashboard is always a storytelling concept. Okay, at the top you have a key performance indicators that shows how exactly your company or your business or your team is performing behind the scenes, or maybe underlying, or at the bottom you'll be able to have a descriptive reporting components that tells you how things are happening, and somebody can go ahead and analyze this in a detail. So dashboard is always a storytelling. You have key performance indicators at the top and the detailed story at the bottom to analyze what's happening. All right, so you can see this dashboard. Of course, I can go ahead and filter it out, drill down it, or I can apply some dashboard level filters and everything. So in this dashboard, you could see all the information resides in one place. Okay, we pick data from CRM system, people management system, and so on. Now you see that the sales trend performance, whatever the expected sales and pipeline is going on, the overall sales funnel, and you see the sales funnel is more exciting, that it picks or it takes data right from leads, and it leads in CRM, from the leads to converted leads, from the converted leads to converted deals or won deals, and then from there, how many of them are converted into invoices and how many of them are paid invoices. So the data flow is right from CRM till finance system in one report, which you cannot do it in an inbuilt module available in any given business application, right? And that's the purpose of analytics, and that's the importance of analytics, I could say. All right, so similarly, you have this marketing data in the same place. You have the HR management data, help desk management data in the same place. So all in one, basically. So that's how you build a dashboard for your customers. Okay, another dashboard I just want to quickly show you. So you can see the customization that we have did. The color, the theme, the look and feel of the entire dashboard can be completely changed. And you see that the layout that we are using here is a flexible M into N layout, M cross N layout, flexible layout basically, where you have all the insights in one place. All right. So with that, I think I will open the floor for Q&A. Probably let's go through the Q&A for next 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I think we are a bit slow in explaining the concept, but I believe we are trying to touch base all the concepts here. So probably we are pretty much open to extend the session for another 30 minutes from the planned time. But I'm pretty sure this is all these concepts are very helpful for you. So I'll open the floor for Q&A for 10 minutes, and then I'll touch base the remaining concepts in terms of sharing and collaboration, white labeling quickly, and finally we will have a discussion on the roadmap also. All right. So all those sessions would be like 15 or 15 20 20 minute sessions. All right, so 3 topics ahead of us. So let's go through the Q&A. So post your questions at the left. I'd be happy to answer your questions. And excuse me for a minute, let me have some water. All right, we got a question from Mirza. I hope the question is visible for all. So the question is like, can we get the underlying sample data of this executed view? So I believe we can build dashboards for our clients. Yeah, I mean, it's a demo data type that data setup that we use for marketing purpose and other stuff. You can take a copy of it, of course. We will share it with you. You can just take a copy of that report and make some customizations out of it. So we will share it with you in this question, probably. Give me a minute. It's an open public workspace that we have. We typically use this for most of this marketing purpose, QA, not marketing purpose, or it could be like a QA for journalist or analyst and all those stuff. So you can take a copy of it and you can take a control over it. So let me share it with you. Probably I will share it in the chat. So I just shared it in the chat. This is a public workspace where you can just open it, click on copy workspace at the top inside your Zoho Analytics account. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to access it. All right. So I got another question from Chetan. Oh, okay. All right. So they're looking for the executive view again. So I believe we just shared it in the chat. You can take a copy of it. All right, so here's the tricky part. The question from Vivek, that can we duplicate the sample data across the domains? Of course, it is not currently. It is available only for .com domain. So sorry for that. If you get in touch with us through the support, we will try to come up with a solution to help you to copy this sample workspace in your demo setup also. All right. All right, so I got a question, interesting question from Arif that, thank you for your feedback, Arif. The question is, can we copy the design to different accounts in same sector? I believe you're looking for an option to copy the dashboard designs across different reports or different accounts, basically. Okay, I mean, this question is in a very high level. I need to touch base a couple of features here to explain that. The very first point is you can maintain a consistency in terms of what are all the colors that you can use it in a chart. So let me answer this question. I believe you're all able to see the screen. I'm just coming back to the workspace. In the workspace level, you have an option called settings at the left. This is the workspace settings. Okay, so you have two settings in Zoho Analytics workspace. One is at the left and one is at the top. So don't get confused. At the top, you see something called settings, which is a organization settings. You can set it. You can make some changes in the Zoho Analytics account level, some organization settings. The settings at the left in the workspace is something that you can make the workspace level changes, the specific workspace level changes. All right. Now, when you go to the settings at the left, of course, you can change next. Of course, that will help you to set it up the fiscal year when you're dealing with, like, let's say March to April or some other cycle that you're following. You can change those things. You can set up a backup for the workspace level, which can be downloaded as a zip file. And I'll touch base these variable concepts while I'm explaining the sharing and collaboration. But this is what I was trying to explain. You have the option to pick different chart color or a palette basically, and you have the option to create your own palette. So let's say you create a report, you always prefer to maintain the color consistency across all the report. You can go ahead and create a new chart palette. Okay, and then if you use this and you select that, whenever you create a report, automatically the color consistency will be applied across all the reports. So it could be not only the multiple colors, it could be the monochrome, a single shade color, or it could be the gradient where multiple color can be used. Okay, now similarly you have the option to use the themes, the grid level, like let's say pivot view or tableau view or something. Then you can use the themes options to set it across all the workspace level, and some more features which I'll just touch base later. But the reason I'm just explaining this is this will follow a color consistency when you're trying to build a report, and then when you create a dashboard on top of it, obviously you can set the dashboard level theme, color, the look and feel and everything, the settings and everything. Okay, now if you want to use the same theme and color across multiple dashboards while you're creating a new dashboard, it's better that you can take a copy of it by using a save as option, and within an account you can go ahead and create a new dashboard with same theme, color and look and feel. Okay, but if you want to copy this entire settings to a different account, currently we do not have the option to copy only this customizations and settings to a different account. But if your question is like, let's say you want to copy the entire workspace, you want to duplicate within an account, or you want to copy this entire workspace to a different account, that's possible. So let's say you want to duplicate this entire workspace, you can just click on this option and you can go ahead and duplicate the workspace. Or let's say you want to copy this workspace to another account, then you can share this workspace or make somebody as a workspace admin, which I'll just touch base in the sharing concept, and there you can enable the copy workspace option. There are some steps to do it. You need to enable this for a specific workspace using an URL, so you can get in touch with our support team to guide you with that. All right, so that's something that we just explained it. And let me go to the questions. I think I got many questions here. Okay, I got another interesting question from Jean, right? So the question is, thanks for the details today. I think, I mean, of course, we covered a lot of new features, touch base the new features today. So that was good. So I believe Jean was trying to create a widget, a specific month for the current year, and then the specific month for the last year. Okay, so this is something that you can, I'll just quickly show you that in the dashboard. Let's say I just go ahead and build a dashboard. It's same as how exactly the report that what we have created before. So for example, the year-over-year comparison, right? So similarly here you can say, so you see that what I'm doing is I'm just trying to use I'm not using the month and year or year option. I'm just directly using the comparison of, like, I mean, the seasonal values. So if I choose the seasonal values, this will be like month across all the years. So I choose that. Okay, but anyway, the problem is, okay, we have a limitation in this specific case. We are always concentrating on the, I mean, last and previous value. So in this case, I think we need to go with some kind of a workaround. let me quickly think through. Give me a minute. It's the last 2 years. Okay. I mean, there are some workarounds to handle this case, Gene. That was a very good question. The problem is currently when we even filter the last 2 years, we cannot do it directly. So we need to use a function something like month to date. So if you use the month to date function and filter the last 2 years, then you will have the values of current month to date for the last 2 years. So it can be addressed for the current month, but a specific month that what you're looking for 2 different years comparison, then it cannot be dynamic. You need to manually choose it. If you want that to be a dynamic, we can do it for the current month, that is month to year, month to date. Okay, so using that formula column, I think you can use it inside the KPI widget to compare between the last 2 years. So great questions. Thank you so much. Let me answer 3 more questions. I got a question from one of the partner that rather than we can copy and paste the entire dashboard from one instance or account or org to another by exporting it like a script file. Okay, that's something we have it in our to-do list. We are already working on that feature. We are planning to even, there are multiple features that we are working on. Something that you have the option to copy a particular report within an account across the workspaces, copy an account across the workspaces, across the accounts, copy a specific report across the accounts, or export a specific workspace or a template and then import into another account. So those are all the features that we are currently working on. It may take some more time. It kind of like involving in a lot of use cases in and around, but certainly we have it in our to-do list. It's already in progress, not even in the to-do list. It's already in the progress. Excuse me for a minute. Let me turn on the light. I think it's too dark. I was just involved in the session and I forgot to. I forgot that I'm not visible over the video. Right. So just coming back to the Q&A. I got a question from Venkat that can we add salesperson name as a filters in a dashboard? We have a user requirement where the salesperson name should be shown as a button on a click, which need to be view data in a dashboard. Okay, so that's something that you can use it in something like, let's say you're using a chart or creating a chart based on the salesperson and then whatever the sales that they did. Okay, so you can click on that specific data point and whatever the appropriate reports which has the salesperson will be applied. So the report as a filter in dashboard will work. So I'm pretty sure you can use the appropriate type of report to solve that case. So I think we have a few more questions. Let me try to answer a couple more. So I got a question from Satyam Gupta that how can we delete multiple row from data fetched? Okay, all right. So I believe your question is in terms of the first stage, which is when you're dealing with the table, you want to delete some specific records that you have it in the table. In that case, you need to filter it out. Let's say I just want to filter this hall value. I can just right click on it, filter it, and then you can delete the rows here. Okay, so you can filter and delete basically. All right, so I think I have answered most of your questions. So I believe our product experts are super active to answer all your questions. I do see hundreds of questions. That's great. Thank you so much. Thanks for being interactive in the session. I hope my session was helpful to understand the concepts or some of the new features that we have launched and most used use cases. All right. So with that, I'm just quickly ending the visualization layer, and we are going to switch in or step into the sharing and collaboration layer. All right. So from here, I'm just reducing the size of sharing and collaboration because that doesn't need a lot of time. So I'm going to touch base 3 topics quickly. 20 minutes sharing and collaboration, 20 minutes or 15 minutes white label solution, and then a 10 minutes quick overview on the roadmap of Zoho Analytics in 2020 and 2021. And finally, we will have a overall summary, right? So let's start with sharing and collaboration. All right. So I think we are all set to start the sharing and collaboration. All right, so I got a chat that is a kind of a quick break. Of course, I mean, I just grab a couple of, a sip of water, that's it. All right, so yeah. So we are all set to start the sharing and collaboration. So back to the product. Okay, so in terms of sharing and collaboration, of course, we are just coming to the third stage of the product, right? So the first stage would be importing the data from different data source and then collecting it, accumulating in a one place, or defining a data model and then preparing your data, have it ready for the visualization layer. Then you come to the visualization layer where we have the option to build a chart. We were different types of charts. We were using the functions, sub-functions, filters, involving the forecasting, or use the AskGIA feature to build all the reports and dashboards what you're looking for. A dashboard that provides the overall insights with some key performance indicator. And so far, the entire process has been automated, meaning you are importing the data which was automated, and automatically the data comes in or maybe imported, and then you create all the reports and dashboards which automatically updated then and there, and then you have all the reports and dashboards dynamic, interactive, and ready for the analysis purpose. Now, the third stage would be, of course, you need to share it and collaborate with other users, right? As a purpose, I mean, as an admin, of course, you cannot have the report for your own analysis. You need to share it with different users with different level of permissions, like read access, write access, report creation access, or export access, and a lot. Okay, so when it comes to the sharing and collaboration, I'm not going to touch base only how to share the reports. I'm going to touch base all the possible sharing and collaborations that we have it in Zoho Analytics. All right. So when I'm talking about all the possible sharing and collaborations, these are all the topics I'm going to touch base. Okay. One is how you can share a reporting objects with some specific set of users, and how you can apply the conditions or permission levels, like what they can do with the report, whether they can view it or analyze it by viewing the underlying data, or you have the option to share only specific data set by applying the row level security, and so on. Or group sharing is how you can create a group and share it with all. And also I will touch base something called variables, which is nothing but dynamically applying some conditions to multiple users. And then I will explain how to use the exports, email. Those are all like a couple of minutes explanation. Publishing, which is very important again, how to publish the reports with different users, how to embed in another website or a application, and then how to create a slideshows or make the slideshows to display in a big screen on a random basis. And also finally collaborating in terms of commenting with other users, share your thoughts, like how you comment in social media. Okay, so to start with sharing, first, all you need to do is, in the workspace, you need to open some specific reporting objects. So in this case, let me quickly go ahead and pick a report. Okay, so I use this report. So this shows, the same kind of report. I'm trying to use it again and again because it's easy for you to understand. Okay, once again, we are not trying to show a deep report or maybe a very complex report, because we want to explain the concept which can be correlated to any given use cases. So once again, I'm touching base the same reporting objects again and again, which is monthly sales, yearly sales, or sales based on the lead source, and so on. Those are all the three topics I always revolve around to make you to understand all of the relevant features in the Zoho Analytics. Now you see a report here in Zoho Analytics which shows the some kind of like a area stack area bar chart, which shows the sales or maybe leads flow, number of leads that we have received from different source on every month. Okay, could be a different visualization as well. So basically we have the leads that comes in from different lead source in different month. Okay, now this is the report I'm going to use to explain the sharing and collaboration feature. Okay, so first let me share this report. I don't want to change the type of visualization. So let me share this report with one of my colleague, or maybe one of the person there. Let's say another user in your organization. Okay, so all you need to do is type in their email address. Okay, so go to the permissions, define what level of permissions that you want to give. Only the read access or export access, or whether you want them to view the underlying data. If they are viewing the underlying data, what columns that they can view. Okay, or also you have the option to choose like whether they can drill down and see some fields. If they can drill down, what are all the fields or what are all the possible dynamic drill downs that they can use. Okay, so you define different criteria here. So in this case I just remove two criteria, and I just allow the user to only read and export the report. I'm not allowing them to comment or anything. Okay, now I share this report with this user. Okay, all right, so it's shared. Now I have this user signed in, the same user signed in into a different browser. Now I have a workspace where I got a report from my admin, and in that report it's pretty clear that okay, sorry, it's a public workspace. I'm sorry, probably we need to go with a different use case. Just give me a minute. So since this is a public, they are able to access everything. So let me quickly go with a different workspace. I'm just taking a copy of it. Excuse me for a minute. Since it was a public workspace, like everything was visible to the other user as well. Now, one feature you see that like I have some other workspace which was not relevant to my account. I can go ahead and unsubscribe it. So if I just unsubscribe it, automatically that workspace will, I mean, like revoke back by the, I mean, either the admin can revoke back the permission or the permission will be taken out from my account. Okay. Now I took a copy of this workspace, new workspace, basically. Okay. And I'm going to use the same report, what I was shown to you. It was leads flow by source. And I'm going to repeat the same step. I'm going to share this report with a specific user, and the user email address is john@zilka.co. And I go through this, I can apply the different permissions. So let me retain the export permission alone and go ahead and share this with the user. Okay, now I log in into the other account where I have John, and I'll be able to use this workspace. I'll be able to see that specific report which was shared with me. So John can go ahead and access that specific report, of course, and based on the permissions granted, John can either export the report or interact with the report. But of course, when I click, I cannot do the underlying data, or I cannot go ahead and make changes, or I mean, I cannot go ahead and drill down it or view the underlying data or make any changes in the report, or even the edit design or anything will not be available here. But John can change the type of visualization that he preferred to see and work on it. Okay, so basically I'm explaining the concept that you're sharing a reporting object with the user and you're restricting the level of permission that you prefer to give. Okay, so in this case, let me quickly go ahead and update the permission. So I just shared this report with the John. So what I did, I can click on the share at the top and I click on edit share details. When I click on edit share details, the username is listed. I mean, I'm back to the admin account again. I'm updating the permissions. I'm enabling the view underlying data and drill down. I can set what columns can be seen in the view underlying data and so on. And I update these permissions. Based on that, if John access this report, I'm just back to the John screen and open this report where John can now go ahead and view the underlying data or edit it. So based on the permissions that you granted to a user as an administrator, the appropriate user will be able to access the report. So the control is something that you can provide read-only access, or you can provide commenting access, or you can allow John to share the reporting with other users. Okay, so these are all the restrictions that you have while you're sharing the reporting object. Okay, now in the same reporting object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a filter criteria. Okay, so let me tell you what is filter criteria. So this is some products, they call it as row level security. In Zoho Analytics, we call it as filter criteria. So filter criteria is nothing but you have a complete data set, but while you're sharing a report with a user, you prefer that the user should be able to see only the data set associated with him, not all the data set. For example, in this use case, as an administrator, I'm sharing this reporting object with a person called John. Now I felt that John is taking care of only partners lead source. Okay, so I have different leads here. I mean, the lead source at the bottom. So let's say John is taking care of only partners lead source. Now, while I'm sharing this report with John, I'm going to apply the filter criteria. I'm going to edit his permission. I go ahead and click on edit, and I open the filter criteria tab where I need to filter that lead source. Okay, so let me choose this column better rather than typing it. I have the option to choose the columns at the left. Okay, so we have multiple lead source. Okay, so we find the column that we want to use. Okay, so you see this here. The condition is nothing but table name dot column name, which is similar to the SQL query that what we did yesterday. So we go to the lead source and we filter it with single quote that the lead source is supposed to be partner. Okay, and I click on OK. So that updated the criteria. Now I'm switching to the John's account and I'm refreshing the report where John should be able to see only the partner's lead source. All right, not all the lead source. So hope it is clear that I'm applying some filter conditions. So whatever the data set that's supposed to be visible for the end user, they should be able to see that specific data set, not all the data set. Okay. I'm sorry, I just noticed a chat window saying that John's screen is not visible. Oh, I'm sorry for that. The screen sharing was made for application level. Let me quickly stop and share the screen for the entire, I mean, not the application level, the entire screen level. Give me a minute. I'm sorry for that. All right, I hope now it is visible. Okay, so let me quickly recap it. Just a couple of minutes, let me quickly recap it. So I'm applying the filter condition. I mean, I hope you know how to use this in terms of sharing. I just go to the sharing and I edit this. Now I click. I'm just going to quickly remove this filter criteria. And I'm going to quickly show you guys how to recreate that. So I'm updating the filter criteria. All right. Now I'm switching to John's window. Now John's screen is, now you see that John, from the John's account, Now I'm accessing the Zoho Analytics from John account. Right? So the John is able to access the report I have shared with him. So when I click on this, I'll be able to, John will be able to see all the data set. Okay. Now I'm going back to the administrator screen. Okay. In the administrator screen, I'm disabling some permissions. And I apply the filter criteria. So the filter criteria, I hope you're clear. I'm specifying the column name equal to the value. So the value is nothing but I have set of different lead source. I define the value as partner, and I choose the column name, which is the lead source. So when I update this criteria, and I'm going back to the John's account here, I'm refreshing this particular report. Now John should be able to see only the partner's lead source, not all the lead source. All right. So I hope it was clear that John is able to see only the partner's lead source. So based on the requirement, let me share the application screen. So it's a bit fast. Sorry for that. All right. So based on the permissions that I prefer to set to a user, I can go ahead and choose the permissions, and also I can go ahead and apply the filter criteria where the end user will be able to see only that associated data set. Okay. Now, two options, I just want to clarify this. One is called apply parent table filter criteria, and also variables. Okay. So parent table apply filter criteria is nothing but, let's say you're sharing this leads table with John. And while you're sharing this leads table with the John, you're applying the filter criteria that John is supposed to see only the partner's lead source. So while you're sharing this with John's account, you're applying the filter criteria, right, in the table level, basically. Okay, so if you do that, and then while you're sharing the reporting object, the dependent reporting object with John or maybe any user, you have the option to specify that I can apply the parent table filter criteria. If I choose this, based on the base table criteria that whatever I have applied, automatically John will be able to see only his data set. Okay, so filter criteria is very important feature because that's widely used whenever you have a user. Obviously, as an administrator, you prefer to restrict what an end user can see, what they want to see, and what operation that they can perform on top of the data set. So filter criteria, you need to use it extensively. Okay. Now, the second feature, I just want to highlight that what I have shown to you is manually go ahead and define the filter criteria to the user. Okay. So instead of doing this manually, let's say I'm creating something called variables. Okay, so those variables will be available inside the workspace settings. When I click on variables here, the settings, I have the option to create a new variable. Okay, so let's say I just name this as John's filter, and then I have a value. Let me ignore the default value. I'm going to map a value called partner. Okay, and I specify John's email address here. Now, similarly, as like John, I have another email address called Amy, who is also supposed to see a value. Let's say it's going to, I'm just going to call it as like online leads. Okay, so assume that each of these owners are responsible for a particular lead source. So I'm going to associate some values for their email address. Okay, so if I use this, let me name it better. Let's say it's going to be like lead source variable. Okay, so let me name it as lead source variable, and I'm defining different filter value for each and every email address. Okay, so I define a value called partner for John. I can define a value for online leads for Amy. It could be something. It could be anything in your case. If you do this and if you go ahead and save this filter criteria, basically, okay. So let's say in this case, I don't want to have any user filters. I mean, default value. I just click on. Okay, sorry. So the default value could be, let me make it as all values, and I select. Okay, now what I do, I define a variable, which basically variables is nothing but mapping some values for each and every user account I have, okay, as a shared user account. When I use this option, then if I share this reporting object to a user, in the filter criteria, I'm able to define or I'm able to say, instead of go ahead and defining it the specific value for, I mean, because as you know that this particular report is shared with John. Let's say the same report, I'm going to share it with Amy also. But when John log into his account, he should be able to see only partners leads. When Amy log into his account, she should be able to see only the online leads, right? So when I do this, when I go to the filter criteria, we already have a variable that's set. John should have associated partner leads or should have the associated value of partners. Amy has the associated value of online leads. Okay, so what I do here, I specify the lead source equal to, instead of specifying the value manually, I'm inserting a variable which I have created. All right, so if I insert this variable, now this condition is dynamic. Okay, so understand this feature very clearly. Variables are nothing but you can go ahead and define some set of values for each and every user. Let's take a very simple example. You have sales that happening on 3 different regions: East, Central, and West. Now you have 3 different managers, somebody taking care of East region, somebody taking care of Central region, and somebody taking care of West region. Now, when you want to share this reporting object with that particular managers, while the East region manager access the data, he should be able to see only East region data. When Central region manager log into his account, he should be able to see only Central region data, and West region manager should be able to see his own data set. Okay. Now, instead of applying this filter criteria each and every time separately, you go ahead and create a variable in workspace settings. And in the workspace settings, when you go ahead and create a variable, you will be able to define that what are all the values that can be associated with their email address. If you define these values and then you go ahead and share a report with that user and apply the filter criteria, then the user will be able to see only his data set. So instead of manually defining the filter criteria, you're automating the process of variable. I mean, you're automating the process of dynamic sharing using the variable feature. Okay, so that's the sharing. So this is the private sharing. Basically, when you're sharing this reporting object with the user, you share what they want to do and I mean what report they want to see, what level of access that they want, and what data that they're trying to see. Based on that, they will be able to work on the reporting objects. That's the first case. Okay, now the second case is, instead of sharing it manually for each and every user, you can make it as a group sharing. Okay, so when you make it as a group sharing, then the group sharing is something that you can create a group, something like click on share in the Explorer and go ahead and click on add groups. I mean, create groups. Basically, you can add a set of email address here. Okay, so when you add a set of email address here, obviously you can create a group. Okay, so once you create a group, then while you're sharing the reporting objects, you'll be able to choose the option that whether you want to share it to a user or a group also. Okay, now you see that I can enter an email address, or also I can enter a group name. So I have a group one. So when I enter it, this reporting objects will be shared to the entire group. The same level of filter criteria can be applied. So that's the separate or separate or I mean, like Unix sharing, or maybe it could be, I mean, private sharing for a specific account. It works on an ad hoc basis, or it could be a group level sharing where you're sharing it with a set of users. All right. So that's the second option. Now, the other possible way of collaboration is, instead of making sharing this user to I mean, only a specific set of view, of course, you can go ahead and select multiple views here, and then you can go ahead and share it to a user. Okay, so it could be a single view or multiple views. You can select it and share it to a user. Okay. Now, these are all the different sharing options we have it in Zoho Analytics. Apart from the sharing options, you can also export the report in any of these formats. So based on your requirement, you can export these report in any given format. And of course, while you're trying to export, you can set some permissions like whether, I mean, conditions like whether you want to export only single report or a multiple report you prefer to export, or let's say, what size of papers, I mean, what would be the paper size you want to see it as an output. Appropriately, the layout will change. Okay. And also you want to include some title at the heading, or you want to take it off. Okay. A lot of customizations, which are, most of them are pretty much self-explanatory. And also you want to include the time at the right hand side top corner, or you want to remove or include page number, and all those stuff. So once you choose this, obviously you can go ahead and export this report. Okay, so you can export this report as a PDF or anything, and then you can share it with the other users. So that's a pretty much straightforward feature. You can export the report in any given format based on your requirement. All right. Now, apart from the export feature, the one important feature is emailing this report. Okay. So instead of exporting the report, you have the option to go ahead and email and choose what format that you want to email this report. So once you choose this, enter the email address of the person to whom you need to email this report. And then, of course, you have the option to send it as an attachment, or whether you want to have it as an inline content. If you choose it as a kind of like an HTML snippet, obviously you can, I mean, HTML format, then you can choose it as an inline content or external content. So let me quickly show you that. As a HTML file, when you, I mean, has an HTML content, when you share it, when you email it, you have the option to choose it as an inline item or an attachment. And also you can customize this email message that you want to send. Now you have the option to schedule this email also, not just sending this as a one-time. You can schedule how frequently that they want to receive this email. Okay. And also upon the email send time in the subject, or you want to pause it when there are no data in the report or something. So based on these requirements, you will not be sending the, I mean, sorry, you'll be scheduling the email. So if there is, email will not be sending to the end user if there is no data, and some other settings that are pretty much self-explanatory. But when you configure this email scheduler, you will be able to send the report automatically to the end user at that scheduled time. Okay, so imagine that your entire process has been automated. The data has been imported automatically. The reports has been shared or provided access to the different users. All the reports and dashboards would be updated. You email the report to the end user at that scheduled time. So all those criteria can be handled here. Okay, so this is how it works in terms of providing access to the different users, exporting the report or emailing the report. So let me quickly touch base the other sharing options, not just exporting or emailing the report. I'm coming to the topic called publishing. Okay, publishing is nothing but, we are talking about three different options. One is embedding the report inside another account, or you generate a URL and share it with somebody, or you may embed it in a website or web page or anywhere. Okay, so publishing is nothing but somebody, you're allowing access to some users where they're not coming into the product and accessing the report. They can go ahead and access the report anywhere they want. Okay, so either they can embed it or they can generate the URL and publish it with the end user. So let me start with the URL. So when I click on URL option, I'll be able to set whether I want to make it with login or without login. So with login is, if you enable this option and you share this URL with somebody, when they access the URL, it will ask them to sign in into their Zoho Analytics account. And once they sign in into their Zoho Analytics account, they'll be able to access these reporting objects if this report is shared with that user. So let me repeat that again clearly. If you choose access with login and share this URL with somebody, they need to log in inside their Zoho Analytics account to access the report. And also, you need to share this reporting object with the specific user. So based on the filter criteria that you have applied, the end user will be able to view the report. Okay, so that's access with login. Access without login is, it could be public. Anybody can view this report, but you have the option to set password. So if you set password, anybody can view the report, but they want to enter the password and view it. If you don't set it without password, then anybody can view the report, but and of course, like, it's pretty much open, like a public, anybody can access it. Okay, so that's access without login. Now, one of the new features that we have included is access within organization. So if you set up an organization, you want to make it public, anybody in that organization can view it. Okay, so this is how you will be publishing the report. So you generate the URL, you share it with somebody, you make it public, you share it with somebody. So any users who are accessing the reporting components will be able to access this report, basically. So this is how the URL looks like. So I just made it as public. So anybody who accesses this URL without password, they will be able to access these reporting objects like this. So that's publish. And also, when it comes to the publishing, you can make it as private publish, meaning you can make it secured by allowing the users to enter the Zoho Analytics credentials and log in and access the report, but you want to share it with the appropriate user, and also you want to apply the appropriate filter criteria so that they will be able to see their data set and so on. But you need to remember that you need to share the reporting with the user when you make it as with login. So when you make it as with login, they will be able to access these reporting objects by entering the Zoho Analytics credentials. If you make it without login, anybody can access it. But if you set a password, they need to enter the password. The third one is organization publish. Okay. So not just publishing the URL, you also have the option to embed the report in any website or iframe inside an application. It's an iframe content. It can be included in any web pages or applications. So all you need to do is copy this iframe. Now, once again, you have the option called with login, without login, and everything. So based on this copied content, you can have it embedded inside an application or a web page where anybody can view it and so on. Okay. Now, one simple use case I just want to show that is, let me make it as without login, and this report can be copied. Now, let's say I have a CRM application, something like this. Okay. Inside the CRM application, I want to have this report as a tab. So whenever I log in into the CRM application itself, I will be able to access this report. In this case, I can generate the permalink URL, and inside the CRM, as an administrator, I'll be able to go ahead and access the web tabs, basically. So the web tabs, I add a new tab called leads report, and I include this link and save it. So anybody who comes to the CRM, if you make it public or something, provide access to all users, they'll be able to see a tab called lead source, and inside the CRM itself, the report is embedded and they are able to access it. All right. So this is one simple example, simple use case, but it could be anything in your case. You can share it with any of the users, or you can have it embedded in any applications and so on. So that's the sharing and publishing. So in terms of sharing to some user, you're applying the conditions, permissions, and so on. You're publishing these users, publishing these views to the users where anybody can view it, or you're emailing it to the end users. You're scheduling the email where the report will be delivered to the end user. And also you have the option to generate an iframe snippet and have it embedded anywhere. So a wide range of options in terms of collaborations. I'll just also explain the slideshow feature. So slideshows are like, of course, you can use it in the meetings, but not just only to use it in the meetings. You can also have it displayed in the big screen. So if you take Zoho Analytics team itself, we have multiple big monitors in the floor. Let's say our support and pre-sales team will be able to see if there are any open tickets, what are all the stats, day-to-day stats, and so on. Another big monitor will display the build updates and the life cycle process, basically what are all the builds that are in progress, how many issues are open, there will be a display in the QA team, and so on. So similarly, there might be use cases that you want to display a big screen and display the stats and reports in a big screen, and that's supposed to be updated then and there. Then you can use the slideshow. So slideshow can be used for the meetings, and also you can use it in the big screens. So in this case, I'll just make it without login. I choose a set of reporting objects here, which I prefer to see it as a slideshow, and I save it. I generate, so that generate the iframe snippet and also that generate the URL. Okay, I copy this URL and I go ahead and access this, where I'll be able to see only the reports in form of slideshows. So I can click next, I can view the next report and so on. So this could be works on a timer basis. So the slide will automatically change in every 25 seconds and so on. And also you can choose the different types of report to explain it. So two things, you can use it inside a meeting, or also you can display it in a big screen, or even you can embed it as kind of a carousel inside a website. So that's the slideshow feature. And apart from the slideshow feature, I just want to quickly touch base the commenting feature. So when it comes to a report or a chart like this, right? Now you want to collaborate with other users. The easy way of collaboration is not exporting and sending an email or sending it in a channel and discuss and so on. The best model of communication or collaborating or sharing the thoughts would be kind of a social media forum. So you want to share some comments directly with the user. All you need to do is just go to the comments, tag the user, and then you can go ahead and comment with them. So in this case, I think the sharing was revoked to John's account, but you can just go ahead and tag the user and type in some comments like, let's say, more leads from partners channel, right? So if you just type it, format or add some attachment or include some smiley and all those stuff. So once you do it, you can post it as a comment. So the comment will be automatically like it take the screenshot of that particular moment when you make a comment, so that the next person can come here and reply to your comment, they can like your comment and so on, right? So that's the other easy way of communication or collaboration. So commenting is very important feature because it's widely used when you're reviewing something in many team levels. So that's how we use it internally in our team. It's very useful, right? So those are all the features that I want to touch base in terms of sharing and collaboration. Okay, so when it comes to the group sharing or exporting or emailing it to somebody, publishing it as a slideshows and so on. Okay, now I just want to quickly touch base the users and permissions in a couple of minutes, because as you see here, I shared the reporting objects with the users. Now the users are able to see some set of reports and dashboards out of it. Okay, now a typical question comes in: what would be the hierarchy for the users? How exactly the users management works in Zoho Analytics? Okay, so in Zoho Analytics, there will be one super administrator who subscribes for the product. Okay, so if you go to the Zoho Analytics pricing plan, the pricing plan is based upon the number of users and the number of records that they can have. So let's say the users go ahead and use a standard plan or something, it will allow them to have up to 5 users, right? Now in the 5 users, there will be one super administrator who subscribe for the product. Okay. Now the super administrators, the super administrator can share the reporting objects with other users with different level of permission, like read access, write access, report creation access, and everything. Okay. So that's controlled by the super administrator. Now, when you provide access to any given user, then that's considered as one of the shared user in your account. Okay. So when you subscribe for a standard plan and you share the reporting object with even one reporting object with the user, where they log in into their Zoho Analytics account and access the reports, then that's considered as a named user, and that will be accounted as a shared user in your account. Now, instead of sharing a specific report, you're sharing a multiple reports. Of course, once again, they are considered as a shared user. Or not just the multiple reports, you're sharing an entire workspace using this feature called Manage Workspace Admin. So you can make somebody as an entire workspace admin, okay? So they can access all the reports in that workspace. They can do all the activities like a super administrator only in the workspace level, okay? Remember that in the home screen I was explaining about I can have multiple workspaces. So as an administrator, when I'm sharing this reporting objects with multiple workspaces, a single workspace, I can make somebody as a workspace owner. So they will be able to control the entire workspace, but only that specific workspace. They cannot access other workspaces. So we are talking about super admin. We are talking about shared user who have access to some reports and dashboards. We are talking about workspace admin who will be able to access the entire workspace. All right. Now 3 level. The 4th level is recently we have launched or we have introduced the feature called organization admin. Okay. Now that unfortunately that feature is yet to be available in Zoho One account. Shortly it will be available in Zoho One account. But I will try to show another screen or another account which has the administrator or organization admin access. So let me quickly pass the screen sharing and grab another account. So I'm trying to share another account screen. So give me a minute. All right. So I believe you are able to see the entire screen now. Okay. So now I'm accessing another account here. So in the another account, obviously I have some set of workspaces. I can make somebody as a workspace admin, or I can provide access to the set of user specific reports and so on. Now coming to this, in the settings, I have something called manage users. And in the manage users, I have, let's say I have provide access to somebody. Okay. Here I have a drop down. I have the option to choose whether I can make somebody as an organization admin. Okay. So we are talking about 3 different levels here. Super admin, 4 different levels here. Super admin, shared users, workspace admin, and organization admin. Organization admin is nothing but somebody who can access the entire account, all the workspaces. They can import the data, they can configure the data source, and everything can be done in the organization admin. Okay, so it's pretty simple that we are talking about super admin who control the payments of the account, who control the setting up the account and everything, and make somebody as an organization admin, but the organization admin can do almost all the activities in Zoho Analytics. Okay, and we are talking about the workspace admin who will be able to do activities only in the workspace level. And then we are talking about the shared users who are accessing only some specific reporting components with some appropriate filter criteria applied. I'm just trying to switch back to the application window because it was pretty fast. All right. So I hope you are clear that this is how you manage the users. So to manage your users, all you need to do is click on the settings and open the manage users tab. You can set different roles, you can add the user, you can delete the user, and so on. Okay. So this is how you manage the users in Zoho Analytics. Now from here, I just quickly touch base the concept of white label and embedded analytics, and also quickly touch base the roadmap of 2020 that hardly take like 10-15 minutes and 10-15 minutes and so on. Probably I think we can have 5 questions Q&A here to answer your questions in terms of sharing and collaboration. So let me quickly go to the Q&A to answer the sharing and collaboration feature. So I got a very good question from Nazra that when I embed the dashboard on a web page, how can I make the width and height adjustment as flexible as per the screen size? It should be responsive. So that's a very good question. So when you're trying to embed a dashboard, you have the option to set the height and width from the dashboard level. So for example, let's say I just want to embed this dashboard. You go ahead and click on embed. And when I choose the embed, of course, here you have, I just want to scroll it and show you, you have the option to set the height and width. Right, so coming to the next question. What is Z Voice is Zoho going to have? Okay, all right, I think Kobe, I think that question is out of Zoho Analytics application. Probably, let me quickly, I mean, Z Voice is something that we use it internally for now, for some kind of like internal calling and other stuff. So good that you noticed the browser extension and you asked the question. So it's a kind of like an internal VoIP-based software. We are trying to use it within the Zoho Corp in terms of calling their extension and so on. Maybe it could be a big project, but you may need to wait and see. It's in a Zoho level information. I don't have more information to share out of it. I got a question from Azra again that also, can I restrict the domain on which it could be embedded? Okay, currently we do not have that option. Probably that's one of the very good feature requests. We can try to address that in future. So currently we do not have that option. But of course, whenever you want to associate some kind of a restriction to a public embedding feature, then obviously it comes up with the login system. So when you log in, then that comes into the named user section where you need to subscribe for the user to access it. If you make it public, definitely we cannot read the domain. Okay, another question that how do you change the super admin? Okay, so there is an option inside the settings. I just need to switch because I cannot show it in this account. This is a Zoho One demo account. Inside the settings, there is an option called transfer ownership. But before transferring the ownership, you need to understand there are some like integration applications and everything. If it is in place, you need to think about that. And then you can share it. Of course, you can share it along. We can transfer the entire ownership. So you can do it using the settings option at the right-hand side top corner. I mean, inside the settings, and then you need to click on transfer ownership or change ownership. I got a question from Abhishek that any limits on the simultaneous viewers? Can we set the restriction on the number of viewers? Okay, this limitation is applicable in the Zoho Analytics on-premise version. When you generate a URL and share it in the Zoho Analytics on-premise, it's called the permalink feature, obviously, where there is a restriction on the viewer license, how many of them can view it and so on. In Zoho Analytics SaaS, there is no limitation as of now, but we are planning to handle certain things, but not in a very near term, Abhishek. All right, so with that, without any further delay, I think we are almost taking more time than planned in terms of training, but I hope it is useful for most of the users, right? So let's quickly touch base the last few topics. Very quickly, I just want to provide an update about the white label solution and how exactly that works. And then I will provide some information about the product roadmap that what we are planning to work on. So white label solution, obviously the name itself is pretty much straightforward. The white label solution is nothing but providing and delivering the product to the end